Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply fascinating piece of source material that explores this completely counterintuitive reality. You see, human beings are, by our very nature, deeply social creatures. From an evolutionary standpoint, isolation has historically meant danger. To be separated from the tribe is to be vulnerable, which is exactly why, for most of us, physical isolation feels incredibly uncomfortable. We almost equate it to suffering. But what if the exact opposite were true in the right context? What if tearing yourself away from the crowd and finding yourself completely alone on a motorcycle is actually the secret to sparking your deepest ties to the world? That is the core idea we're breaking down today. So let's dive right in. Okay, I want you to visualize something with me for a second. Picture yourself 200 miles from home. The sun is just starting to dip below the horizon, it's throwing these long shadows across a winding stretch of empty asphalt, and you are literally the only soul in sight. Now, to the vast majority of people looking at that scene from the outside, it looks like the absolute definition of being alone. Society tends to equate a solitary figure on a highway with someone who's just running away, right? We assume they're escaping a broken heart, a dead-end job, or a failed life. You know, the classic lone wolf trope. The immediate reflexive thought is lonely. But as the source material points out, for writers, the truth is the exact opposite, which brings us to a stark contrast in how we actually view this state of being.
Society constantly bombards us with the message that being alone is a symptom of loneliness. It's treated like a disease or a problem that urgently needs to be fixed with, more socializing, more apps, or more digital connection. But for the Nomad, solitude isn't a symptom at all. It's a high-commitment identity marker. This kind of chosen physical isolation isn't about running away from your life or escaping your responsibilities. It is entirely about learning how to carry your life. It's about building the internal strength to bear the weight of your own existence without relying on the constant noise of a crowd to distract you. You aren't avoiding reality out there, you are facing it head-on.
So let's formally define what we're talking about here. Section 1, the Nomad's Paradox. The strange, honestly beautiful reality that forms the foundation of our explainer today is that on a motorcycle, you actually find your deepest connections to the world and other people at the exact moment you are the most isolated. If you've ever wondered why a simple two-finger wave to a complete stranger passing in the opposite direction at 60 miles per hour feels so incredibly meaningful, well, this paradox is why. It often carries way more weight and genuine connection than sitting through a 2-hour conversation in a stuffy, climate-controlled office with people you see every single day. The corporate office forces interaction without any real shared stakes. The wave on the road, however, that acknowledges a shared, chosen risk. And that brings us to Section 2, the psychology of the wave and why this shared identity is so powerful. Think about the last time you pulled over at a random gas station out in the middle of nowhere. You absolutely didn't plan it, but suddenly you find yourself in a 40-minute conversation with a fellow rider you've never met. You probably didn't even catch their name. Yet, somehow you're talking about deep life philosophies, your biggest fears, and the state of the world before you've even finished discussing tire pressure. Social psychologists actually have a term for this. They call it in-group cohesion. Basically, it's a powerful bond that happens automatically when people share an identity that has real-world stakes attached to it. The shared experience of being out on the road, totally exposed to the elements and the inherent, very real risks of riding, instantly connects you. It completely bypasses all that usual small talk and societal pleasantries.
These are the exact ties that bind riders together. And the key thing here is that you cannot fake this identity. You either ride or you don't. You absolutely cannot fake the bugs splattered across your visor, the numb hands from a sudden drop in temperature, or that hypervigilance required to stay alive on a highway full of distracted drivers. Because of that unfakeable reality, riders instantly recognize a fellow traveler. It's not just about noticing the leather jacket or the helmet, it's about recognizing a very specific frequency that you are both tuned into. The weather, the risk, the machine maintenance, these elements prove your authenticity right then and there. It's a high-commitment identity that acts as this invisible tether between deeply solitary individuals. So let's look at Section 3, entering the flow state and how pure motion takes over. Let's walk through exactly how this psychological shift happens once you leave that gas station and hit the open road. Step 1 is where we all start, right? The noise. The constant hum of modern life. The bills, the looming deadlines, those endless what-ifs. But then you get on the motorcycle. Step 2, the machine. Riding requires every single nerve and every ounce of your attention. The intense vibration of the engine beneath you, feeling the exact tension of the clutch, bracing against a sudden crosswind,
navigating gravel in a blind corner. Because of those relentless physical demands, you have absolutely zero mental bandwidth left to worry about your electric bill. And that forced focus delivers you right to step 3, pure motion. The noise finally goes quiet, and you enter a flow state driven entirely by instinct. The ride becomes this solitary exercise that actually allows you to switch off your anxieties, creating a really unique mental state where you are completely alone, yet completely understood at the exact same time. In that silent state of pure motion, you shed all your societal labels. You aren't a stressed-out middle manager anymore. You aren't a frustrated parent or a struggling student. You aren't your mortgage or your email inbox. You shed that entire list of responsibilities and become just a human moving through space. You become entirely, authentically yourself. Which perfectly sets up Section 4, alignment with nature.
This transformation we're talking about naturally elevates our conversation from modern psychology to ancient philosophy. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus called this state alignment with nature. As the source material explains, this essentially means acting without resistance to what is actually happening right in front of you. When you're on a motorcycle, you have to stop fighting the road and start flowing with it. You stop viewing the world passively. Think about it. In a car, you're essentially watching a movie, right? You're safely insulated behind a pane of glass with the air conditioning running. But on a bike, you are thrust right into the middle of the scene.
You are out in it. You are literally touching the world. You're breathing in the sharp electric scent of the rain miles before a storm even hits you. You feel the sudden freezing drop in temperature the second you ride down into a shaded valley, and then the direct, comforting warmth of the sun on your visor as you climb back up the ridge. You smell the freshly cut grass, the wet pine, the asphalt baking in the heat. This deep, profound sensory engagement with your environment is honestly a visceral form of healing. It serves as an undeniable reminder that you still belong in the world, even when you are miles and miles away from everyone you know.
And that brings us to the final piece of the journey, Section 5, the return home.
Because the ultimate benefit of this entire experience isn't just about staying out on the open road forever. It's about what happens when you finally kick the stand down in your own driveway. The absolute truth of the Nomad's paradox is that the road doesn't isolate you, it recalibrates you. That deep, rushing solitude provides the profound mental clarity required to be truly honest with yourself, stripped of all excuses, which, by the way, is one of the bravest things a person can do. And by taking that deeply solitary journey, you actually replenish your reserves. You equip yourself to walk through your front door and truly, genuinely show up for the people in your life. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Think back on your own experiences, whether that's on a motorcycle or somewhere else entirely. What is your frequency moment? When was the last time you felt miles away from everything, totally isolated from the crushing noise of society, yet somehow more deeply connected to yourself and your community than ever before? Take a moment to reflect on that. And hey, if this philosophy from the Modest Nomad source material resonates with your own journey, make sure to seek out their community and hit subscribe to Modest Nomad. Keep leaning into that flow state, and we'll see you on the next explainer.